We're sitting here, chavrei Lichtigen Chanukah. We're holding in the Zman of Achana for the grace of Zman, for the grace of Yom Tov, Aboleinu L'Toiv. I had a Soyer this last Shabbos. I went to a family Simcha and had a tremendous Soyeris. We came together for the family Simcha and they had a beautiful choir. The Shiur choir was there, they had a cousin there, and the Kabbalah Shabbos and the Shabbos davening. Beautiful, beautiful about Tfilis. I was bothered by a question. I asked a lot of people this question this week. I asked a lot of people, I was looking around, and you have a beautiful chazan, and you have a beautiful, beautiful choir. Everything's perfect. They have it all worked out. The Kegavna, the Rosa, the Shabbos, with the Kabbalah Shabbos, exactly a Chassidische song, a Kalbach song, a Svardische song, all zusammen. I'm looking around. Comes to Kriya Shema, you don't see anyone a Soyeris by the Kriya Shema. Comes to Shemon Esrei, you don't see a Soyeris by the Shemon Esrei. The whole purpose of having a chazan, the whole purpose is to have a Soyeris. A person has a nice bal tefillah as the Soyeris. I asked a lot of people this question. Most people didn't hear the question too sharp. But the Soyeris I had going into Chanukah, one of these Soyeris of Yisrael Salanta said an interesting Yisrael. We know that there's two ways that a person is a Soyer. One is what the Sefer HaChinuch writes, "Ha'odam nifol kafi puloisav," act as if. That means if a person does a ma'isa, does a pula long enough, if a person is not interested in giving tzedakah, he just thinks about himself, a selfish person. He thinks about himself a whole day. Ha'odam nifol kafi puloisav. If he practices giving, and he gives, and one person comes by, another person comes by, and he has a life of giving, the person will become a giver. The way a person acts, that's who the person becomes. That's one Yesod. Another Yesod, which in the second Yesod, the Balei Musa, the Chassidim, are similar, is a person is a Soyer when he has an emotional experience. So a person could light Ner Chanukah, one person does a Ma'aseh Mitzvah, which is unbelievable, a person lights a candle, is in all the Elam Masal Yoinim, he did Moedika Tikkun. But another person lights a candle, and he gets involved, and he says the bracha with a geschmack, and he sings Aneres Halalu. There's an emotional experience. An emotional experience makes a roshim on a person. So Yisrael was asked the question. When Yisrael was asked, you found in the time of the Tsar, there were many people in the Tsar's army. In order to be in the Tsar's army, the Tsar was the one who was mechadish, that they have to wear uniforms, that if a person dresses as a soldier, and a person would feel, so they took people that were players, they took people that were farmers, they became part of the Tsar's army, and for many, many years they had to dress perfectly. The shoes had to be shiny, everything had to be perfect. The question of Yisrael was asked, if there's a klal kol adam nifol kafi puloisav, why do you find that after the person was in the army for 10 years, the person, that's it, he was freed for the army, he went a year later, 2 years later, he was back to the same point. He was the same farmer. If Adam nifol kafi puloisav, for so many years he was so makbid on the way he dressed, and all of a sudden, nach 10 years, he goes back to his old ways. So Yisrael said a moedik yisod. Yisrael said a mensch darf willen. A person has to want. If a person wants to be a better person, a person wants to come close to the Eibishter, and a person has a rotzen, a will, a person wants. And now, so a person wants to be a nice person. He really wants to be a nice person. He wants to be a good person. But the Eibishter made him his heart, or a shvera heart. It's hard for him to have rachmanis. And now he practices giving. So then he will become a giver. If a person is not interested in becoming a giver, he could do it as long as he could do it and do it, he won't become a giver. So a Yid could go into the Yom Tov of Chanukah, and a Yid acts, he does 8 days, he does the mitzvahs, he does everything perfect. As a Yid hotish can rotzen, and a Yid doesn't before the Zman, before the Yom Tov of Chanukah, a Yid thinks, what do I want? What's the purpose here? If a Yid has an outlook, I want to become closer to the Eibishter. I want to become a better person. I want this mitzvah to change me. Maral uses the interesting lashon. Maral uses the lashon in the machlokes by Shammai and Basil, if we light going up or going down. Dr. Maral, what's the pshat in the shita that we light going up? Basil shita. Ki ha'adam misala ba'achroina al-kedusha yoysa. The person is misala. The mensch wird a kedusha wird a größerer Mensch. Ulefikach ha'adam asher hu mekabel hanes tchila. A person who's makabel the nes. So a person has an outlook, I'm going into Chanukah, and a person's going to daven to Hashem a whole Shabbos. He's going to say, Rebbeinu Shalom, we live in a Zman where the Chitzonius is perfect. The donuts are going to be a lot better donuts than our Zaydis have. The presents are going to be a lot better presents. Everything's going to be on the outside. There's going to be Hanukkah plates and Hanukkah cups and Hanukkah signs. And the menorah is going to be, in many years ago, you see in Brisk, and you told me his father came for Brisk. In Brisk, there's no oil. We think, well, we go on, walk into a grocery store and we see this type of oil, that type of oil. There was no oil. There are more rights. The minhag was to use candles. And a lot of the Noisei Kalim say, why do they use candles? Because they didn't have oil. So Baruch Hashem, the oil is going to be better. Baruch Hashem, we have a company in our mitzvah, and we have Baruch Hashem, all types of good wicks. But the Eibishter says, Ich will dir. I want you to be Nesala from the mitzvah. But that comes with a rotzen. It comes with a rotzen for a person to want to be Nesala in the mitzvah. And it comes from putting an effort for a person to learn about the mitzvah. The same person who's lighting the Ner Chanukah this year is not the same person who lit last year. The Alter from Kelm writes a Moedik Lashon. He writes a Lashon, and I believe this would be a Moedik thing. If every person would have in his house, when he lights the Ner Chanukah the first night, he'd have someone in his house that's not religious. You come to his house, and you have to show him around. You show him around your house, and you show him the menorah, and you have to explain him everything. You have to explain it. But it's not enough to have an explanation. A lot of times a person will put a quarter in the machine, and a person will say drushes about Chanukah. So we'll say Chanukah represents Shmini, Shmini is the Malam Teva, Chanukah is the Oragonis, Chanukah represents Seichel, the Seichel, Odom with the Yavonim were against Seichel. All these things are speeches. But the Alter from Kelm writes a Lashon, what does it mean to me? What is this mitzvah? Hashem is talking to me. Hashem is telling me, you're in a Zman of Golus, in a Zman of Choshech. Every one of us is living this. Hashem writes, every person has Choshech in his life. Every one of us has one side Hashem. We're living through Zmanim of Choshech. Some people have Choshech and Sorah, some people have Choshech and Parnasa, some people have Choshech and Menuchas HaNefesh. And Hashem told us, Hashem told every Yid, I'm giving you a Zman of Or. But it comes with efforts. Up to Alter from Kelm, a person has to be able to answer, what's my personal Chanukah? What's my Vort? What's my Vort this year? And that's what I want to ask a Toiva. We're sitting here, Chavrei and V'yedidim. Come over the next week. Maybe we could write, Rabbi Garfinkel just gave out a beautiful, beautiful chibur. If a person could write down a Dvar Torah Chanukah, I'd love to hear something. And there's different Verta a person says. A person goes to shul, on the tables in the shul, there's beautiful, beautiful divrei Torah. But what's my Vort this Chanukah? What's the message that talks to my neshama? Dr. Alter von Kelm, a dover ishius, a personal vort that makes my Chanukah an inspiring Chanukah. And it takes a tremendous avodah. A person could have piles of notes, he could have piles of svarim, but even the same vort. I look back sometimes at my own notes. I could have a vort last year that was so inspiring, it was so exciting. Oh, but this year it doesn't do the same. And the Rambam writes about the mitzvahs ner Chanukah. They tell us over and over to our children this Shabbos. So the Rambam mitzvah chaviva hi'ad ma'oiv. This is a beloved mitzvah. This is not, the Rambam doesn't write about any other mitzvah. So the Rambam tzorach lahoisef b'shvach hakel v'yidoyu lo ya'anisim she'asa lanu. It's not just a ma'aseh mitzvah. The Rambam says this mitzvah is the way the Alter von Kelm explains it. It's like a trigger. It's supposed to bring a person to a certain feeling of thanking Hashem. This takes a tremendous avodah. It doesn't happen by itself. I saw the Rashiva of Ger writes, I think from Alexander Rebbe, he writes there are 3 Yidden that they should be the most inspired people. The Yid that takes care of the mikveh, he should be the helix the Yid. He always is busy with mikvehs the whole day. The Gabbai of the Rebbe, or the Rashiva's driver, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Yidden around Reb Chaim Kanievsky, they should be the greatest people. These Yidden a whole day, all they're busy with is they're busy around the tzaddik. And the same thing he says, the chavrei kadisha. They should be, I have a cousin who's in the chavrei kadisha. He once came to my parents for Kuru, and he says, outside in the car, he has a body in the car waiting. So you think the chavrei kadisha should be the most inspired people. So the Rashiva said from Alexander Rebbe, the pshat is these people, they're eitzel. They're next to a mace. They're next to the mikveh. They're next to the tzaddik. It's not going in. It's not going into the person. So the Eibishter's bench, and we should be zoiche. To the the Chaim Brim writes, Yidden used to go into Shabbos. They used to ask the Eibishter, Rebbeinu Shalom, you gave us 20 dips for Shabbos. You give us for Shabbos. Everything's beautiful. The Shabbos table is set. Everything's beautiful. Yidden used to ask the Eibishter, Rebbeinu Shalom, Gebun's Shabbos of Shabbos. When we go in this Shabbos, we're going to ask the Eibush, the Rebbeinu Shlita. We have donuts for Chanukah, we have divrei for Chanukah, we're going to have a lotzka mesiva for Chanukah. I didn't have these mesivas when I was a little kid. But we bet the Eibush, the Rebbeinu Shlita. I'm all the simple Yid, my Zayda, when he lit his menorah, he just felt connected to the Eibush, the Rebbeinu Shlita. Help us, we should have a Chanukah of coming closer to the Eibishter. Help us, it should be a meaningful Chanukah. We should have our own Dvar Torah, our own Dvar Chizuk. The Rebbeinu Shalom Gebul is Chanukah of Chanukah. We should be Zeicher, the Zman should be a Zman of Aliyah, a Zman of coming closer to the Eibishter. The Zman should go into our Pnim. We should be Zeicher to become better people, becoming Heilige Menschen. We shall Zeicher sein, Be'ez Hashem, a Shabbos from Aliyah, a Shabbos from Simcha, a Shabbos from the Tarli Beinu of the Chaveres.